All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're setting up the next match at the moment, which is, of course, going to be Solar versus Stork. That will be an unfortunate team kill for Samsung Galaxy. Of course, the brackets were randomly determined before we began this series. This is going to be a very interesting one. I don't know much about Stork in Legacy of the Void, but I do know he's been playing it, and of course we know a great deal about Solar, because he's been one of the most dominant forces in the Legacy of the Void beta.
Now, I actually haven't seen a whole lot of Solar, so I'm curious. I know that all the Zergs out there are very hyped to see him in this tournament, but
I've heard
it
a
would
lot
be
of good
really
things.
sick. Like, what I do think, by the way, is that like Stork is probably gonna show us a lot more War Prism Disruptor play than Zest did, because I kind of feel this is more to Stork his roots, right?
Maybe. I mean, maybe he's more accustomed to that spread out style. I am not entirely sure where PvZ ended up resting in this build of Legacy of the Void prior to the end of the beta, but I do know that Solar has been crushing face, and he's been one of the guys that's been playing a lot in the online tournaments as well.
And that may very well be the deciding factor, as we saw Bomber kind of clean up Zest, which a lot of people said was not going to happen. I have to think maybe some people are starting to revise their predictions for this tournament, and maybe this Legacy of the Void beta practice is actually far more valuable than people have initially believed.
Now I finally understand why I haven't been able to win a single game in the last 3 days. Thank you, John. I feel so much better now.
It's okay, I can teach you a few builds.
Alright. I keep my eyes wide open.
Build a couple pylons, build a mothership core.
Two base carrier roll in is the way to go against Zerg, man. Tell you. So
I've
good.
actually done that. I actually had a game where I just randomly played as Protoss. I got put against, this was maybe like mid-beta. I got put versus like a mid-GM Zerg that I would normally like trade games with on ladder as Terran in Heart of the Swarm. And I was like, well, I can't beat this guy with my Protoss. And I just rushed carriers, and he like didn't realize it in time. And I just spread them out versus the Parasitic Bomb, and it was great, man. You could just like harvest a whole mine of salt from Zerg with carriers.
You're telling me that he didn't realize in time that you were going for carriers? Like
yeah, they took like but they took like it was before they had the nerf on the build time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, damn it. Oh, so they take longer again?
Yep.
Yeah, I already felt it took a little bit longer, and especially because Chrono Boost is not as powerful. How many seconds did they add? Do you guys know?
Quite a lot, like 60, I think.
What? 60?
Yeah, I think in-game
something
time,
ridiculous.
Like Blizzard time-wise, it was 120 before the beta. They moved it to like 90, and I think it's back at, it might be back at like 120 Blizzard time now. I don't know what that is real time.
Rip the dream. Well, I still think we're gonna see some carriers this series though, because I know a lot of pros just love their phoenixes here, and that makes me very happy because it's like pretty much the only thing that I feel that I'm pretty decent at, flying around with phoenixes against Zerg. Parasitic Bomb is super scary though, like I faced it a couple times in previous days, and I'm just like, oh, okay, bye-bye phoenixes, you know, like I cannot make 25 phoenixes anymore. In the past it was always fungal, that's kind of scary, but you know, like I can dodge fungals, but Parasitic Bomb is super sick. However, if you get carriers, you know, that should shut it down again. So I'm super curious. I just really hope we're going to see a close series and that Stork puts up an excellent fight against Solar.
Yeah, same. Also worth noting, I realized this last night, is they actually did, in Legacy of the Void release, put in a much more clear indicator on the air unit that gets targeted by Parasitic Bomb. Like it, I don't know, it looks like it's got like some sort of glowing field of death on it basically, but it is super visible. It's very easy to tell now which unit is Parasitic Bombed.
Well, I still find it very scary, Nate, and I still thought it was like Red Eye. Like, it's easy if you have like 4 or 5 Vikings, but I think if you have like 16 Phoenix and he has like 3 Parasitic Bombs, like by the time that you figured it out, most of your units are very low on HP. I think it's pretty hard still. Well, maybe I'm just bad. I am.
Well, I think Parasitic Bomb is still super strong, so I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
No more Mass Raven for you, sir.
Well, more like no more Vikings or Liberators to kill Broodlords.
Actually, I find the Liberators very funny, especially in the way that they shoot, you know, when they were chasing the War Prism. Their shots look kind of derpy. It just like goes in this weird, awkward angle, and then like it hits the target. It's very different than all the other attack animations in Starcraft. You have to get used to it, I feel.
Yeah. Have you noticed any other animations or little tweaks that have changed Or I guess you didn't play too much of the beta, huh?
No, not really that much. I mean, obviously the Protoss wiping, but I'm sure everybody notices that. I think it's super cool. I'm starting to get used to it already, but it's still way cooler than it was before.
I just remember when they released the trailer or whatever, like with all the 40 zealots warping off one pile, and I'm like, warping doesn't look that cool.
It does
and
now.
then Blizzard was like, haha, it actually does.
Indeed it does. Alright, speaking... Oh, okay, looks like we're gonna have to regame. Never mind. Yep, it's like, yeah, we're going... no, we're not. Okay. We're just having to quickly reset up the game. Solar has a quick configuration issue. In the meantime, of course, we should remind you that this tournament is brought to you by Sandisk Extreme Pro SSD. If you're thinking about getting an SSD, I run 3 of those damn things, and they're the fastest drives I've ever owned. And they don't break, which is nice. They have a 10-year warranty, so even if they did break, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I use one. I love it. I actually got one after the last Sandisk Invitational.
Yep, and it still hasn't set itself on fire, which is perfect. It's exactly what you need.
It has not burned my house down or murdered my family.
What an endorsement. Can't ask for anything more than that.
Solar picked the wrong race. That is actually what went wrong.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess that would be why. I'm like, hang on a minute. That's.
I wouldn't mind watching him play a TVP.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was inspired by Bomber's Liberated play. He's like, damn, Bomber really did spread some freedom in that previous series. You know what, Stork? I've been to the US a couple times as well. I'll give it to you. Alright, I'm just gonna need a minute. I see Jonas is relogging on.
Yep, just relogging.
Alright. So Nate, have you been watching some PVZs?
Not in Levels Through the Void.
What do you think is going to happen this series? Stork vs Solar. If you have to make a prediction right now,
on
inspire
this map,
the people. Let them win some Sandisks.
I want Tempests, man. I want Tempests. Because this is the map with the big airspace, right? I was watching this Protoss streamer, and he just like went up to carriers after a bunch of Phoenix on this map, and it looked pretty sick. So I think
was it me?
Yeah. Some Drake player, I think was his name.
I was about to say, I was like, that really does sound like me. Like that's one of the few things I do. So there's one thing, by the way, like this map is cool, but there is one thing in particular that I'm very curious about, and that is how Stork is going to design his natural, because I cannot possibly wall off on this map or create any sort of sim city. So please, Stork, show me the way, because I have no idea what to do.
Alright, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Olorino, and it's my pleasure to bring you to the west position in the Blue Trunks playing Zerg, Samsung Galaxy Solar. Versus his opponent to the west position, the southwest, in the red trunks, one of the 6 Protoss Dragons, a legend in and of himself, Samsung Galaxy Stork.
This little attack path between both bases is so funny as well. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen already a couple of disruptor hits, right when the army is trying to make its way through that narrow point, and then it's like one disruptor ball goes in and you just kill the absolute maximum amount of units possible. It's like the most satisfying thing in the world. I can also see some sick bailing hits there, imagine if you play TVZ and Terran doesn't scan a couple of burrowed bailings there, that would be so sick.
Yeah, walking through that choke point is basically like you better check your list twice, man, before you move through there, because it is such a fast path. But imagine, eventually we're gonna see lurkers blocking this path, stuff like that. There's so many different ways to punish people that just waltz willy-nilly through the danger zone.
When I was young. When I was young, I always played Red Alert, and that's pretty much the only game that I could actually create my own maps on, because I'm not smart enough to create a map in Starcraft or Warcraft 3. But I would always design my maps like that, and then I would build 7 Tesla calls at the end of that choke point, that all units would just die one by one. That was me having fun against the computer. That's kind of what this reminds me of.
I imagine that 7 Tesla cores would not stop Solar. It doesn't really matter. He would dominate you. Even if you did have Tesla cores in this game. In the campaign, there is actually an obelisk of light, essentially.
That's so cool. I haven't seen it yet. In the Legacy campaign?
In the Legacy campaign, yeah. It's this giant tower thing that fires a very long-range, powerful beam. It's basically an obelisk.
Did you finish the campaign yet?
Haven't finished it yet. I'm probably about halfway through. It's, in my opinion, the best campaign yet. It's really fun.
Yeah. It's definitely the best one. The story itself is amazing. No spoilerino, of course.
Liking the little pylon wall off that Stork is doing in that middle position there.
Wow, so actually Stork just showed me that you don't need to wall off on this map, you just wall off the choke point.
There you go.
Then the Zerg has to run 5,000 miles to get to your base.
I feel so stupid right now, guys. It's not even funny.
This is why we're watching these guys instead of playing, Kevin.
Man, how could you even assault that? You'd have to do it from the air, and even then you just put a pylon overcharge on that, and everything that runs into that narrow choke point is probably going to die.
Seriously, how did I not think of a single pylon? That actually blows my mind. This is the easiest solution of all time. This is basically like fixing something with duct tape. Why didn't I do that?
Well, Solar's going to try and kill it anyway, and the Mothership Core is kind of out of position, so that pylon's going to get nibbled on.
He might actually lose the pylon. It looks
Yeah,
like.
that's actually possible.
Photon overcharge saves the day, no worries. Yeah. Stargate! Hype, hype, hype!
Stork is thinking, oh, if only I had a shield battery right about now.
I want it, man. I want that Stargate to... I don't want him to let that Stargate just be dreams, man. He's got to please start the fleet bacon.
That would be
Wow, he's
wonderful.
going up to 3 bases as well. Man, Stork is playing so ballsy so far, you know, he hasn't really scouted.
Solar's just been super greedy too. He's literally just built drones.
Yeah, 3 hatch before pool, droning hard. He's getting 6 slings now, but I think Stork's going to get away with this.
Excellent scout by that Overlord. You know, would have been easy to miss this target, but he sees it, so he's going to be able to get a couple spore crawlers. Probably just 1 spore in every base. I'm just looking at the work account now, by the way, because this is something that I'm still very in the dark of with Legacy. You know, because of the change to Larva and the change to Chrono Boost. You know, I don't know, how do the work accounts look at certain phases in a game? And I'm actually surprised that we're 4 or 5 minutes in. Stork is going up to 3 bases. He's only down 2 or 3 workers, so I guess in a weird way it's still very similar to how HOTS played out. Just the numbers are very different.
Yeah, that would seem to be the case, and it's going to take a little while for everybody to figure this out. Oh, another one. Cool. All right, but will we see the fleet beacon? God, I hope so.
I want it. I'm really hoping to see some big airplay. Look, he's getting +1 attack for his flyers as well, so we should definitely be seeing some heavy airplay this game from Stork.
But he's also getting +1 on the Forge, and I find that very weird, because normally when you go double Stargate, you don't really rely on anything on the ground, so I kind of wonder why he's getting +1 on his Forge, but there is a Spire going down for Solar as well, so maybe we're going to see some air versus air battles over here.
We very well might. I mean, it seems like the map to do it on. If you're going to do it on any map, it would be this one. The question is, I suppose, who is going to come out on top of that? If we're going to see a Void Ray heavy style from Stork, then Solar could be struggling with it.
Mutalisk is good though.
I was gonna say, I think Mutalisks have always been pretty decent versus Void Ray based compositions. Like if he's able to turtle up and get to carriers, then you know all hell breaks loose. It just depends on how many he gets before you know Solar makes a real assault on him.
Very important scout in the main base of Solar. Stork has now seen the Spire, and I think that changes things a little bit. If I'm Stork right now, I stop building Void Rays and I start getting a couple Phoenixes out. Even if my opponent goes for Corruptors, which is unlikely against Void Rays, but you kind of want to have a couple Phoenix against Mutalisk, right?
I certainly think so.
Now, Roach Speed is coming in too, so he's just kind of getting all the upgrades. He can't really build that many Mutalisks anyway, and he's still got a Hydralisk Den halfway done, so it's going to be 6 Mutas. Do you think maybe, what are the chances, Kev? I don't know if you've seen a lot of Lurker plays. Is he just going to maybe go for a quick Lurker Den off this Hydralisk Den?
I think it's more to keep his options open. I don't think he's going to go Lurkers immediately. You know what I would love to see right now is Stork sending out the Mothership Core with the Void Rays and sniping that 4th hatchery. Shout out to the Axiom boys who always used to do that, Alicia and Craig.
That we did, no doubt about that. There's some really weird stuff going on with Stork right now. We see 7 gates, he just finished +1 air and +1 ground, and is now going resonating glaives with adepts.
Yeah, this is
some sort of adept Stargate based push? That's pretty weird, yeah.
Yep,
it's a little weird.
Very, very random. But maybe it works out. You know, these two Phoenixes make his life so much easier already. The Mutas will be able to pick up the Oracle, but
nice.
I think other than that, I don't think that Solar is going to be able to do a whole lot with these Mutas.
No, I don't think so. The Phoenixes are going to drive that back nice and easily, and what's interesting is the Adepts are generally pretty bad against Roaches, but if you do grab this Resonating Glaive upgrade, they become a lot better, and they're also really tanky. So you've got a lot of options there, and of course, if they go with a Hydra-heavy composition, this sort of upgraded Adept will absolutely murder it.
I'm
Yeah.
curious because whenever I make them, it's very hit or miss, and I haven't really figured it out yet. It's like sometimes adepts are like, "Oh, cool, man! These adepts are doing so well, I'm loving it," and on other moments it's just like, "Okay, my army's not doing anything." So I'm very curious to see how this is gonna work out.
I think these Ravagers could help a lot too.
Oh, Stork! Oh my god, he loses quite a few adepts already, although a lot of the Hydras have also gone down here as Stork mis-microed that. Lovely lifts here on the Ravagers. Is that going to be enough to push it back with the Void Rays and eating yet more Ravager shots? It should be, but let's be honest, Stork should have lost a lot less with that.
Yep, he actually could have murdered that army. You're spot on. At the same time, these Mules somehow found a way to be relevant in this game,
Yep,
as they
they
killed
did.
11 workers, which is surprising when there are 5, 6, 7 Phoenixes out on the field.
Now he didn't even overcharge once. Actually, that's a good point.
Well, those mutas are now going to die horribly, which is lovely for Stork. He's going to pick most of them off. Lovely split there by Solar, though, to get them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just such a strange little control slip there by Stork. He had everything he needed to make a great fight out of that, and he won, but not without losing way more units than he should have.
Yep.
Also worth noting, the Ravagers look really funny when they get Graviton Beam.
Yes.
They like kick and scream like way faster than any of the other units I've seen get Graviton Beam.
I actually didn't see it. Now I really want to see it.
It's a real baby rage. Just keep your eyes on it when it happens again.
Alright. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Stork is still kind of in it. He's going for a really interesting composition. He's getting Immortals now as well. Solar, with these queens, like if he spreads creep a little bit further, I think that could be a very, very big problem. Because I think his army is a lot stronger when they fight on creep.
Oh man, Solar is under a lot of pressure right here. He's got some High Templar as well, but down come yet more of those Ravager shots, and Stork will be able to do huge amounts of damage to the Hydras, but I don't know if he's got the army for this. He's taking a lot of fire there from the Ravagers. The Void Rays are in play. Archon's coming into play as well, but I just don't think there's enough Protoss.
Yeah, a little bit too late, I felt. These Archons were just not doing anything in the back of the army. Stork has a little bit of money saved up, not a single time warp, not a single photon overcharge to help out there. And I felt that, once again, the start of that battle was a little bit awkward for Stork.
Yeah, it really was. Absolutely was, and that's probably got a great deal to do with the lack of success now. It's a bit of a shame because, like, his composition, I like it. He obviously knows what he's doing, but he made a slip-up and Solar capitalized on it, and there is the GG.
Yeah, spot on. I think actually that could have gone so much better for Stork. I'm totally with you. Because I was so surprised. Even when he move commanded half of his army into Solar's army, he still kind of came out and won that fight.
Yeah, he
Lost
did.
a couple probes at home, but he still pushed Solar back. And then again, he was like right on the verge of having a pretty decently sized army and an army with a relatively high DPS, I guess, in a weird way. But then again, like, he's only fighting with half of it. He doesn't use pylons, doesn't use time warp. Archons were just standing there behind the army, and he also ate pretty big Ravager shots. Like, he could have moved those units just a couple inches, and they wouldn't have taken any of that splash damage.
Yeah, that's very, very true. There were basically control issues. Like, his strategy seemed really good. His build seems great. His control seemed a little bit off that game, and hopefully that's something he can polish up over the next couple of maps.
Yeah, really, I have to say that the move command for me was just like, but it didn't really seem too active though. Like even with his Void Rays or Immortals, dodging the corrosive bile. That thing, it does like 60 damage to everything that it hits. Like
Yeah.
it is like so much more threatening than actually just taking one extra. You take one extra shot from the Ravagers to step forward, and it's like that's actually not even as bad as just eating a corrosive bile.
Yeah, that is very true. We're going to take a quick commercial break and hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, it's going to be Game 2 of Stork versus Solar, with Solar leading 1-0. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into Game 2 right here. It's going to be on Ruins of Ceres between Stork and Solar, with Solar currently leading 1-0 against his coach and teammate. And here we go. Welcome to the Ruins of Ceres. It's my pleasure to bring you Solar. He is in the blue trunks playing Zerg to the west position versus his opponent to the east position, also of Team Samsung Galaxy. In the red trunks playing Protoss, it is Stork.
And already we see 12 gas, 11 pool for Solar on the map where I think it's pretty much impossible to wall off your natural no matter what you do. So It's gonna be tricky for Stork, I think, especially since he's going for Nexus first.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
I
Wow.
love this cheeky play. He's really trying to just catch him off guard with this, because you just don't expect attacks this fast in Legacy of the Void.
No, you don't. No, you absolutely do not. You can't 6-pull, but you can, as you mentioned, 12-pull and get that very early gas, and that can result a lot of speedlings and, of course, baneling follow-up.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to deal with this, and I have no idea what you're supposed to do when you're gonna go Nexus first. Like, I think securing the natural is literally impossible, so I guess the best thing that Stork can hope for is that he somehow stabilizes in the main base, doesn't end up losing too many probes, and then eventually just take it from there. Because of course this does slow Solar's economy down quite a bit as well. But defending the natural, I think, is pretty much impossible. What is really good news is that his first probe is heading into the main base of Solar immediately, so at least he has some time on figuring out how he wants to deal with this.
And he's just like, oh goodness, here we go.
But how do you even deal with it? I mean, he doesn't have a gateway. He does cancel the Nexus, which I like. You know, that's clearly the way to go here. But the question is, will he even be able to get up any shred of defense? And I don't think so.
I think what you want to do is just create the sickest sim city and make it very difficult for Zerglings to get into your mineral line. He has to get a core as quick as possible. He has to run around a little bit with his probes and make sure that his pilots... I don't like the positioning of that cyber core, actually.
No, I don't.
That makes it so easy for Zerglings to just work on it.
I have to wonder if he's saying, you know what, we're going to use the cyber core as bait here, and I'm going to try and keep my probe line safe and rely on zealots.
Yeah, but I think that's a horrible decision, because you're gonna need higher tech eventually.
Especially
Solar
once those
looks
links
at it,
get
he's
speed.
like, cool, Cybercore, cap.
Yeah, that's a freebie, but at the moment, so far, so good for Stork, who has a Zealot out, is chrono boosting out another. The Cyber Core is almost complete. Zealot gets surrounded, the probes are in the mix as well, and he's now going to take it some pretty serious worker damage. Ouch.
Yeah, this is just brutal.
I mean, yeah, he had to bring those probes out so far because he had to protect his Cybercore.
Yo, he still has more probes than there are drones, and he can photon overcharge twice once he pops out here, so it's
that's
going
to be a big deal.
Yet.
Yeah, maybe it was a worthy trade so far, and I like the fact that Stork is not going to use that photon overcharge until he's sure the Lings are going to commit.
The biggest problem still is, though, you make a good point, Nate. Like, right now the economy is pretty decent for Stork, but he has to worry about like 20 speedlings that are running around, and he somehow has to secure a second base. Like, this is extremely frustrating when you don't have sentries, when you don't have stalkers. I mean, how is he supposed to just send out a probe right now that's not going to get picked off?
It's going to be difficult.
Stargate, how does this help him, you think, Kev?
Pray for an Oracle to kill 17 drones.
Kappa HD.
Might not be as much Kappa involved in that. I have a feeling that's what he has to do. I mean, there's a third base going down right here for Solar. 15 Lings versus 3 Zealots and a Mothership Core. You'd have to get a pretty damn good fight to make that work. And of course, he needs to be able to protect that main ramp. Otherwise, his probe line's going to get hit again.
Yeah, if I'm Solar right now, I think it's very important that you ask yourself the question, alright, I'm gonna go up to 3 bases, my opponent is still on 1, I kill a couple workers. What can turn this game truly upside down? You have to worry about the big gateway attack, you know, even though slow warpins are not as intimidating as the old warpins. And that Nexus still not being there, like, I would be worried about Dark Templars or Oracles, so I see no reason for Solar not to get a Spore Crawler in his main base and in his natural.
At the moment, Stork is just nibbling away here at that link count.
I was gonna say, at this point, you should realize like there's only so many ways that you can lose this game, right? If you're able to really get someone in a
Solar's gonna get the scout.
This.
He's gonna get. Oh no, he's not because of that wall off at the back here.
Oh, he sees it though.
Now he's got it. Now he's got it.
Boom! Spore's on the way.
Very fortunate scout, but I agree with Nate. Like, you can just ask yourself the question, you know, what can I still lose to? What could my opponent possibly be doing? And then most of the time it's Oracles, DTs, or Gateway all in. And you know, this Oracle, actually there's no Spore Crawl in the natural yet. Why not? I guess he's relying on Queens, but this Oracle should be able to kill 5 or 6 drones, or maybe 8.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? And he's looking for 6, 7, and he gets out.
Nice.
Oh, lovely control there. 7 drones, all right, that's pretty good, but it is worth bearing in mind, of course, there are now 3 hatches up, so those drones are going to get replaced fairly quickly.
Bad luck, Roddy. 5, 6, or 8 drones. It's
Yep.
That's why I never win in the casinos, boys.
Never lucky.
Yep, unless you get to play against Todd, in which case, you're fine.
Yeah, I know. That's a different game. Then it comes down to skill, you know.
Yeah, it's all skill. Absolutely.
So that Nexus still isn't even done yet.
No,
man.
it's
that
not.
Pro production has been so limited for so long. I really like this position for Solar, even with the workers he lost. Like, he just has such a nice economy, and he can go straight into Ravagers if he wanted to put the pressure on again as well.
No Leia yet, though. That's worth mentioning.
There, the layer has just begun, but I mean, I have to worry. I have to wonder at this point whether or not, Roachling and maybe Ravager is probably enough here for the time being, because he's got to know how low tech the Protoss currently is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think a massive Roach Ravager or Roachling Ravager attack should be good enough, especially because of this ramp as well. Just look at that ramp. It's massive. You need basically 4 or at least 3 force fields.
Yeah.
So you can't really rely on sentries, and then if you just walk up, the DPS of Ravagers is so sick against like slow gateway units when there is no charge, no storm, no blink. So I think that would actually just seal the deal.
Probably would. We've got a robo facility on the way, and we're going to certainly need to see some Immortals coming out. But the thing is, the Roaches are pretty much already done, unless Solar decides to delay this attack.
Yeah, there is a Void Ray, of course. Void Rays are nice.
Yeah, that would make a little bit of a difference. Assuming it doesn't get sniped by Ravager attacks, which it could.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the control versus the Ravagers, but also, I just like this move from Solar, just getting a few at the very least, because what this really helps is, if you're trying to do one of those Protoss type things where you realize that you're behind and you want to make a big attack or something to try and catch your opponent off guard, like this setup will absolutely not fall to like a big gateway push. Like, Adepts are strong, sure, but the Roach count is getting high enough now that I'm really concerned. Like, he absolutely has to find a way to dodge all those Ravager shots, and I don't even know if that's possible at this point.
Yeah, there are so many of them, and the Adepts are not going to do well against these Roaches at all.
So cute. He's gonna drop 8
Slovalord
into the main base. That's so awesome.
Oh my.
Oh, well, yeah, the Overlords that have the drop upgrade as well.
What? Why is he... No! Why is he there?
I think he sent them in as a scout and he forgot about them and they accidentally teleported forward.
Alright, he's dead. He's dead. So very, very dead. Usually I would not say that, but losing all of those Adepts for free is an absolute disaster, and I see no way for Protoss to hold this. He's 100 supply up!
Yeah, no, there's absolutely no way. There is one Void Ray, but it doesn't really matter. It's gonna take like 3 years for this one Void Ray to clean up everything. I love how Stork is microing his heart out with his single Void Ray. It's like,
yeah.
Maybe you should have taken care of these other units.
Yeah, that's the second time we've seen Stork basically move command and lose half his army. That's not good at all. His build might be okay, but with control like that, you're going to get nowhere. GG, ladies and gentlemen, and Solar takes a second map, and Stork, very disappointing in that particular game.
Yeah, it would have been very hard regardless, like just to give Stork a little bit of slack or cut him some slack. It would have been very hard to, regardless, to defend on the low ground, trying to go up to 3 bases when he had such a rough early game. Maybe he was also a little bit confused about the state of Solar's economy. You know, sometimes it's really hard to read games like this. My opponent opens up with speed, 1 base, bunch of links. Yeah, I lost some probes, but is it really that bad for me? Like, we have access to all the numbers, so we knew, yeah, it's pretty damn bad for you, bro. You're 20 workers behind. But maybe he felt it wasn't that bad, especially after his Oracle picked off, 7, 8 rounds. So maybe he felt I can just go up to 3 bases, but I think defending on the low ground was borderline impossible, especially after suiciding 7 Adepts.
Yeah, the Adept, that Adept thing was just recklessness. Like, I can understand if you want to send 1 out to scout, but I don't know what he was really looking for. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
He'd have to split with the Shades between all 3 bases, but in order for the Shades to even split in time, he'd have to be doing it right from outside the 3rd base, and at that point, you're basically just like, you're just saying, oh yeah, well, he won't have any units right outside of his base, right? Right?
No.
It's like, no.
I think what you normally want to do there, Nate, and I still have no idea why he sent all 8, but you can just send all your Shades forward and you can cancel the animation. You don't have to go there. So I think maybe he was just sending them out to see if there's an army coming, right? It's basically a free scout. But then they all teleported forward. I don't think it was his intention to teleport forward.
No, that seemed like a botch. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to look at it. And unfortunately, that's the second botch that's cost the second game. But like you said, I mean, he was still playing an uphill battle in that particular match, even if he hadn't done that.
Yeah,
it's a
it's
rough
been
series
tricky.
so far.
Yeah, I think we're really seeing the players that we've seen play a ton of Legacy of the Void still kind of wrecking face, man. You know, Bomber had a lot more practice. You know, especially considering that Zest had that tournament to BlizzCon to practice for.
That tournament, that tournament.
That little event,
one
yeah.
tournament, you know.
Oh dear. Well, that is unfortunate. I'm hoping Stork can come up with something better than that because his build in game one was great. I loved it. I loved the variety there and how well it was obviously thought out, but he just didn't execute it properly. I really think Stork's got a good shot at it. He seems to understand Legacy, but he's messed up Control twice now.
Yeah, and also maybe a little bit ambitious to go Nexus first on Runes of Sarens. Like that's that's basically like just like Larry Crest or however you pronounce the name of that map. I think it's very difficult to get away with Nexus first on those maps where you just know that even if you scout any early pool, you won't be able to wall off. It's gonna be pretty rough from that point.
Yeah, I think you very well might be right. Okay, folks, we've got map 3 coming in. It's going to be Dusk Towers. Stork taking on Solar. Will he be able to bring it back? We're about to find out as we move on to the map. And let's get the score right this time, because I definitely screwed it up last time. There we go. All right, excellent. We are ready to rock and roll, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dusk Towers. And to the north position in the Blue Trunks playing Zerg, it is Samsung Galaxy Solar. Versus his opponent and teammate, currently trailing 2 maps to 0 in this best of 5 single elimination series. C-Rise? What is a C-Rise? I don't know. In the Red Trunks playing Protoss, it is the one and only Stork.
Once again, Dust Tower should be a pretty decent map for Stork. Stork's actually gonna cheese, guys. We spoke about this.
Oh my god. Alright.
I mean, the funniest thing about Legacy of the Void is that I've noticed almost everyone's going like Nexus first, or Double Hatch before Pool, or Command Center first. Even if by HOTS meta, these timings are way too late for cheats to work, Legacy of the Void
What the hell is this?
Greenfest, and it works!
3 gateways?
Yes!
4? No way!
What? I have never seen...
gateways?
He just went 4 gate. Oh, it's not going to get seen either. It's... No, he's... What? He scouts 1, but he doesn't know the others are there. What? This is... Okay, so I just want to point out, by the way, we just saw 4 gateways go down at 1 minute. That's a thing, apparently.
This is so sick.
12 workers start, baby!
Can you do this? I mean, I guess you could. By the time these are up, you can get 3 zealots, 4 zealots.
Yeah,
I
speed
mean,
is really far away. So if he gets up, you know, if he's making 4 zealots at a time,
oh my
those
god,
those 2 hatcheries are. I don't think they can produce enough larvae to actually handle this.
I don't think.
Spines.
I think you're right. I don't think it's actually possible. That is a 4 zealot attack.
This is awesome.
4 proxy gateways.
I actually haven't seen this yet. And I mean, he's mining 600-700 minerals a minute, so he can easily support this. I mean, Solar is gonna need like 4 spines immediately. I would really get like 3 or 4 spines.
I don't even know if Solar realizes how many gates that is, because he saw 1. 4? I mean, 4? Nobody predicts that, surely.
Oh, there are 10
this is
Zerglings
tough.
on the way, 10 Lings and 2 Queens. Hey, and by the way, Stork at home is getting a Cyber Core as well, so this is just the beginning apparently.
Oh man, some adept nonsense possible.
Brings a new meaning to 4 gate.
Yeah, that is quite the thing. And of course, if the Lings move in to try and attack that, the pylon is secured right behind the gateways. It can't be hit right now. You need to work your way through the gateways first.
It's very important that he's gonna get a Mothership Core at home as soon as the Cyber Core is done. Because
Yeah.
if I'm Solar right now, if I see these 4 Zealots, I mean, he's gonna probably end up losing the natural right now. He's actually gonna try to save it.
And he should be able to clean that up, actually. He's got the units for it.
Really, really nice hold, in all honesty, and that's so much production that's just stuck on the other side of the map.
Well, I mean, it seemed like a great idea at the time, but now this actually might be the thing which kicks Stork out of this tournament, because that didn't work at all. I really think that he should have focused that hatchery instead of trying to fight the queen.
How do we feel about, Roddy, I have to ask you, how do you feel about just going into the Cyber Core and getting this gas? Like, surely 4 gateways does not warrant the, oh, I'm just going to follow this up with tech. Like, do you think if he just built, like, 12 zealots, he might have been able to crack him?
And the Adept is stuck as well, but I think you make a good point there, Nate. Like, I wouldn't go into transition until I at least have 7 or 8 Zealots. Let's not forget, you can put 3 Zealots on your ramp as well, or on his ramp, I mean, as sort of a force field. But now, like, these links, he will have 2 potent overcharges, but...
I mean, that natural is forfeit, and it's immediately cancelled here, and the Stork
Potent
cheese...
overcharge doesn't last that long.
No, it really, really does not. And that pylon's going to get shut down before it's even able to photon overcharge in the first place. Lings are now ravaging the mineral line, doing as much as they can. They haven't done a huge amount of worker damage yet, but... I mean, this situation seems untenable here for Stork.
There is 18 army supply of Zerglings on the map. That means over 30 links.
Well, that was that. Well, a very underwhelming series, unfortunately, as Solar stomps Stork into the ground 3-0 after a failed 4-gate cheese. Well, there's a thing which maybe doesn't work very well.
That was brutal.
It was the first time I've seen it, and quite arguably, or possibly,
the last time you might.
Last.
Yep. That is entirely possible. That was absolutely brutal. That was short, and that last game was dreadful. There's really no other way to look at it. That is... Oh. Ouch.
Yeah, I really wonder how this game would have gone if he would have just tried to fight the links. Because, like, 10 links sound like a lot, but 10 links against 4 Zealots, like, that's never going to work in a million years.
No.
So maybe if he would have just kept the Zergling count low a little bit, he had a 5th, 6th, 7th Zealot on the way. Like, you can actually fight a Spine as well. A Spine and 2 Queens. If you have 8 Zealots, you can do some serious work with that, but... He kind of had his Zealots scattered all over the place. It was the initial 4 Zealots, and then it was just like 1 Zealot, 1 Zealot, 1 Zealot, and it just seemed a little bit random.
Yeah, it was... I really don't know what was going on with that, but Stork got flattened, unfortunately. I think a lot of people did expect that. Solar is easily one of the best Legacy of the Void players, as has been proven time and again in all the Legacy of the Void online tournaments he played. It was just a bit unfortunate, because Stork seemed to have some build ideas, but his execution was nowhere near what it needed to be.
And let's not forget, if that one drone wouldn't have caught the glimpse of that hatchery, it would have been 3 hatcheries. So that could have changed things a little bit. It would have gave Stork a couple of extra seconds. And that would have probably made his life a lot better, because that would have meant later spawning pool, later queens, later links. So if Solar would have gone for 3 hatch before pool, then I think Stork could have made it work.
Yeah, I think you very well might be right. So we now have our first round of 4 matchup that's going to be happening tomorrow, of course. That's going to be Bomber versus Solar. That's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually going to be really sick. Even though there's no Protoss, I'm super stoked for that one. I think it's going to be... I think we're going to see some really crazy engagements and crazy long games in that series. For sure.
Yeah, you might be right. And of course, there is still 1 Protoss left in the tournament. He's hiding at the bottom of the bracket now, and he's going to be facing Beyond, which of course is going to be a very challenging thing indeed, but Parting is still in it. Our next series is going to be TY taking on Rogue here. Now, this is maybe the most unpredictable of the series we have.
Yep, I'm not sure how much Legacy TY has been playing, but Rogue obviously has been focusing a lot, I think, on HOTS while having a pretty damn successful run at BlizzCon, making it into the semifinals. To go back to that other series you mentioned, Parting has been very active in Legacy, despite the fact that he, also played at BlizzCon. He did participate in a lot of those online tournaments. So, of the 3 Protoss players, like, I was really hoping the inner fanboy in me was hoping Zez would do really well, but I had the highest expectations of Parting, so... Don't you worry, Protoss fans out there, we're still in it.
Alright folks, going to take a quick commercial break while we wait for TY and Rogue to put in their vetoes. We'll see what comes of this series. Hopefully something a little bit closer than what we just saw there, as Stork unfortunately bombs out in a rather unfortunate fashion. We'll be right back after the break, folks. You're watching the Sandisk ShoutCraft Invitational II. Don't go anywhere.